Scripture passages for us today come from two New Testament books. The first one is James. James chapter 3, verses 3 through 10. Some difficult words for us to hear at times. And so I encourage you to just open up your heart and hear these words as they speak to your spirit. If we put bits in the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. Look at the ships also. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brothers and sisters, these things ought not be so. And our second reading from 1 John, the second chapter, verses 9 through 11. Whoever says he is in the light and hates his brother is still in darkness. Whoever loves his brother abides in the light, and in him there is no cause for stumbling. But whoever hates his brother or sister is in the darkness and walks in the darkness and does not know where he is going, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. May God bless the reading, hearing, and understanding of his word. Amen. Thank you, Chris. Maybe something that you didn't expect to hear this morning. But I hope that as we travel through this time together, that you hear some of the truth that is spoken through that music. Jar of Hearts and leaving scars, and how some of our actions can really do that. And so in light of that, I just want you to reflect as we share this message. And so will you first begin by praying with me? Gracious and loving God, we confess that we are not all that you have wanted us to be. God, that we have failed you, that we have walked away from you. We have not loved our neighbor as ourselves. And God, at times we haven't loved ourselves. And so God, I ask that you would speak to us as we travel this journey of inside out, of looking at mental health and faith, and how you speak to all of our inner emotions, desiring a relationship, desiring reconciliation. And so speak now, Lord. Your servants are listening. And God, I ask that the words that I speak are no longer my own, but they are yours. Your words for your people. In Jesus' name, amen. So last week we talked on a difficult topic as we entered into this series on mental health and faith. We talked about fears and worries. I brought up some statistics which showed a large percentage of people who actually deal with all of these anxiety disorders. I said that 1 in 5, if you remember, suffer from a disorder like this. And that means, on average, if we look at who is worshiping with us today, that probably 20 or so people in worship with us today face a larger than normal amount of fear, stress, and worry in their lives. One of the main points that I wanted to make with all of this was that this is not something, if you're facing it today, that you need to face alone. You are not alone. There are others going through this as well. And if you feel like you need help, I encourage you to reach out and get the help you need, especially in this time of physical distancing and not being able to be with one another. One of my hopes during this series is that you walk away with the understanding that you don't have to have it all together. And as I've said before many, many times, if there is any place that you can go and express just how broken you are, it's right here. Especially in these times. We are all family. You should be able to feel comfortable sharing just where you are today. Regardless if it's joy, if it's sorrow, pain, or anxiety. And so maybe here's a question for us this morning. What do you find disgusting? I know that carries a really broad spectrum of feelings of what you find disgusting. And I know it's not a normal question that you would be asked to reflect on during a worship service, but a very real question nonetheless. What do you find revolting? I mean, we can probably all look back at 2020 and remember days when we were disgusted by events that were happening. The civil unrest, which were the result of decades of oppression. The violence that dominated our streets. The fight over truth about anything. And the surge of mental health issues exacerbated by a pandemic are just a few of the things that we can name. And just when we thought that turning the page on the calendar would change everything, we are bombarded by images of what look like the beginning of something we never thought we would see. Now, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, because I have talked with both, I think we can agree that what happened at the Capitol building was disgusting. I don't want to take away the thought that it was all about those who invaded the building, because it wasn't. Peaceful protests are a good thing. It is part of who we are as Americans, but a line was crossed for some of them. And I got to be honest with you, I was tied up in knots as I watched. I was disgusted, and my heart was broken. I wonder if you felt the same way as you saw some of those images. Well, we've been focusing around this movie called Inside Out and this little girl named Riley and all of her inner emotions. And so as we're diving into this, I wanted to show you some of the things that Riley finds disgusting because she's a preteen. Pre-adolescent. She's one of those really young ones that sometimes I go, well, what would they find disgusting? And so there's a video clip here that I want to show you that has some of the things that she finds disgusting. So go ahead and play that video.
Okay, caution. There is a dangerous smell, people. Hold on, what is that?
This is Disgust. She basically keeps Riley from being poisoned, physically and socially.
That is not brightly colored or shaped like a dinosaur. Hold on, guys. It's broccoli! Yes! Well, I just saved our lives. Yeah.
Pizza sounds delicious.
Pizza?
Yes, pizza.
Right on, that's good. What the heck is
Who
that?
puts broccoli on pizza?
That's it. I'm done. Okay, we got a group of cool girls at 2 o'clock.
How do you know?
Double ears pierced, infinity scarf.
Whoa, is she wearing eyeshadow?
Yeah, we want to be friends with them.
Let's go talk to them.
Are you kidding? We're not talking to them. We want them to like us.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what?
Almost finished with a potential disaster. Stand back!
That worked.
Well, what would you do if you're so smart?
I'd tell you, but you're too dumb to understand.
What?
Of course your tiny brain is confused. Guess I'll just have to dumb it down to your level. Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
All right, here you go. Your new expanded console is up and running.
Cool, upgrade.
Hey. Oh, whoops. Wait, did I just do that?
Hey, guys, what's puberty?
I don't know. It's probably not important.
Wha-
All right, so broccoli is on the top of the list. Isn't broccoli on the top of every kid's list of disgusting things? Maybe you can relate to some of those things. I mean, I'm sure at some point in your life as well, you've encountered some of those things. But you see, there's another side of the emotion disgust. And so as we think about the other side of disgust, here it is. It's contempt. We find something that we don't really like and something that we might hate. And in this case, other than broccoli for Riley, it was moving across the country away from friends and activities that she's grown to love. And we resent everything with it. We have to realize, though, that this type of contempt spills over into other areas of our lives. We have contempt for it, and many times we react in the wrong ways. We react by maybe speaking words that are not very welcoming. Maybe that's why James shares how we are to control our tongues. It's so easy to speak words that are not life-giving, words that tear down, words that divide, and words that control others into believing the hate that fills our hearts. Where have we seen this? 1 John is speaking about this hatred. When he writes about hating a brother or a sister, it only puts us more in the darkness. And God's design is different. God's design is for us to live in the light and to be beacons of light for His truth. But it's not always easy. There's many examples in Scripture of people who had disgust or contempt in their hearts. And you might be able to think of a few here this morning. I'm going to bring up probably two for you. Jonah. Jonah is one of the main ones. Jonah is a story that many of us are familiar with. It's a story about a man who heard God's call. He's called to go to Nineveh and to share a message which you could say was designed to call the people there to repentance. It was a message of destruction that was given. But you see, Jonah didn't want to go. He didn't want to deliver the message. The story goes that Jonah ran the other way, if you remember. Ran away from Nineveh. Gets on a ship, headed as far away as he possibly could. But then a storm comes up. The ship is tossed around, and the people on board begin to pray to their gods, asking for mercy. They begin to throw all of their items overboard to lighten the load, hoping that would help them survive. And finally, they ask Jonah, "Why haven't you prayed to your God yet?" And Jonah then informed them that all of this was his fault, that he had been running from God, and that they should just throw him overboard like all the other pieces, and everything would be fine. Well, it's exactly what they did. Immediately a big fish came and swallowed up Jonah, and there he lay for 3 days in the belly of a fish. Jonah comes to his senses and repents. He tells God that he will finally go to Nineveh, if that is what God really wants. The fish spits him up on the shore, and Jonah makes his way to town. What's more disgusting than that, really? 3 days in the belly of a fish, slimy, stinky, and just plain gross. No shower, he just gets up and walks on into town. Can you imagine the smell? Disgust? Absolutely. But why does Jonah feel so strongly about Nineveh? Why would he not want to give God's message to them? Because he didn't like the people of Nineveh. You see, he knew that if this message made it into town, that they would want to be saved. He also knew that God, being the good God that He is, would forgive them. And he didn't want that. Maybe if he ran away, the message wouldn't make it to town and God would destroy them. That would be good for Jonah, right? Jonah felt disgust and contempt for the people, which kept him, listen, from doing God's will. This makes me wonder, are there people that you feel disgust or contempt for? People that you would rather not ever see again? Ones maybe that hurt you in the past. Do you think God is calling you to care for them? To help them? Or maybe just to love them? Do you think your disgust could get in the way of loving them the way God is calling you to love them? After all, that is one of the greatest commandments, is it not? To love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. How about another one? You remember the story of Joseph? Well, maybe not Joseph himself, but his brothers. You remember his brothers? Here is their younger brother Joseph. Their father doesn't hide the fact that he thinks Joseph is pretty special. So much so that he has this special coat made for him, the one of many colors. None of the other brothers got a special coat, let alone the favor of the father. Strike one. The disgust and contempt begin to form. And then Joseph pulls his brothers together because he's got some really exciting news. He's been having these pretty awesome dreams, and he wants to tell them all about these dreams. But there's one little problem. You see, in the dreams, they're all about his brothers bowing down and worshiping Joseph. Strike two. The disgust and contempt are in full effect now. The brothers plan and scheme a way to get back at him. Maybe they'll kill him. They wanted to, but Reuben talked the other brothers into just throwing him into a pit. That way, because he wanted to come back later and save his brother, but he obviously didn't get a chance, because while Reuben was away, the rest of the brothers decided to sell Joseph into slavery. They completed the deal by lying to their father about the whereabouts of Joseph. The disgust, contempt the brothers had for Joseph clouded their judgment to do the good and honorable thing. It got in the way of loving their brother the way they should. I mean, the story does have a happy ending, as Joseph makes it all the way to be the right hand of the Pharaoh, and while he is there, he was able to save his family during this great famine. But it could have been worse. His brothers could have carried out their first plan. Disgust and contempt are not good things to have in the middle of any relationship, especially your family. I mean, I hear far too many stories about people with sisters or brothers who they haven't talked to in years. Maybe there was an argument. Maybe there was a difference in opinion. Maybe a political opinion. Or maybe an event that drove the two apart. I mean, it really could be just about anything. The disgust just kind of steps in and takes over the relationship, and the communication stops. Reconciliation is what's needed. But yet, here they are. This doesn't have to be with those related to each other. I mean, this has happened between longtime friends as well. Neighbors, too. Although I think sometimes with neighbors it has to do with loaning tools. Disgust is a huge barrier to reconciled relationships because it keeps you from talking and understanding each other. Sure, you may not all agree on all the different points, but you can still be in a relationship. This is a huge part of what's wrong with our political system right now. Each side is so full of disgust for the other that they can't hear or understand what the other side believes. I hear more about what Democrats believe from Republicans, and I hear more about what Republicans believe from the Democrats. When I'm searching for the truth of what the two parties believe, I know what I'm hearing is wrong, but this is what's put out there. And then add fuel to the fire. Everyone on social media just regurgitates it all by all the talking points that they hear. Where is the truth? Disgust continues to build as we become fearful of sharing anything in conversations because we'll just get shut down. The conversations stop, shouting begins, and relationships shatter. But is there a more excellent way? Is there a way to rebuild these relationships? I think if we can eliminate the disgust in our life, we would be able to see that there is an excellent way. Paul talks about that quite a bit in his letters to churches, especially to the church in Corinth. It's about how to live in unity with others, family, friends, and even enemies. I wonder if there are people in your family or in your circle of friends that you need to reach out to in order to just tell them that you love them. Maybe that you're sorry, or maybe that you forgive them. I wonder who that might be for you. Well, one final reference from Scripture talks about this group of people that Jesus interacts with throughout the Gospels. This group is the religious leaders of the day, the Pharisees. And as I read the gospel accounts, I can feel so much disgust, hatred, and contempt within those Pharisees' lives. They always thought they were perfect, that they were accomplishing God's will, all by following the law. But they were missing something. They were missing this compassion and love. You see, they loved everything and everyone that was just like them. They loved everyone that wanted to follow the law just like them. But when someone came to show them what God desired for them, they hated him. They were disgusted by him. After all, Jesus taught some things contrary to how they were living. They were being pushed out of their comfort zones to do something new, but they didn't want anything to do with that. They were comfortable right where they were. Maybe that's why change is so hard. We like things the way they are. Why introduce anything new? But God is not calling us to just stay. God is calling us to grow, to expand our faith, to reach out to new people, to truly love our neighbors as ourselves. I'm sure it's comfortable to continue as we were, but don't you want to follow where God is leading? Disgust for change is a very real problem, but we aren't the only ones to have faced it. Disgust for Jesus created a barrier to truly living out the commandment that God had originally given. To love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. The Pharisees were trying to love God with all they had, but they completely missed the love your neighbor part, let alone love your enemy. Disgust got in the way of truly following Jesus Christ, becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ. And so I wonder what barriers you have created to your own discipleship path. Are you more concerned or blinded with a building, with a tradition, with a way of worship that you can't see past what it truly means to be a disciple of Christ? I wonder if contempt for someone or something has gotten in your way of how you love God and how you love neighbor. What do you need to do today in order to eliminate disgust from your life, to eliminate contempt from your life, to stop leaving scars as Chris has shared in that song. What relationships do you need to reconcile today? Where do you need to maybe extend that olive branch of peace? Because remember, it all starts with you. It all starts with you. You can't control a lot of things around you, but you can certainly control your heart and how you feel and how you treat others. And so do that. Eliminate disgust. Eliminate contempt from your life. Don't let those be barriers to your growth in discipleship and to your growth in all of your relationships. Will you pray with me? God, we don't want contempt or disgust in our hearts. God, we see what is going on in the world around us, and we see what's happening in many of our relationships. And so God, help us to eliminate that. Give us a clean heart. Create a renewed and new spirit within us so that we may truly love. We may truly love you. We may truly love our neighbors, and that we may truly love ourselves. Continue to speak to our hearts, especially in this moment of reflection. In Jesus' name, amen.